Psalm 51.
Have mercy upon me, O God, according to your loving kindness. This one's for anybody who fell and got back up. It's for the dancers, the weepers, the worshipers, the warriors. Yeah, have mercy on me.
I was lost in the night, couldn't find no peace, carrying guilt, trying to find release. But then I read Micah 7:19. You cast my sins into the sea unseen. Your grace don't change, you always forgive. Lamentations 3 says mercies daily live. I'm standing on your word, not my shame. It's your love that broke the chain. Oh, Isaiah 1:18 said I can be clean. Though my sins were scarlet, you wash me pristine. You don't condemn me, you renew me, you bless. Mercy falling on me like a Sunday dress. Yeah, have mercy on me. Turn my pain into praise, set this captive free. Every move I make, every breath I breathe, it's your mercy that covers me. Yeah, have mercy on me. Not by my works, but by your decree. I was blind, now I clearly see. Mercy rewrote my destiny.
I was that brother crying in Luke 18. Y'all be merciful to me, a sinner unclean. I didn't need no spotlight, I needed grace, so I bowed my head and sought your face. Now I dance in the light, no more chains. He erased my past, broke every stain. No karma, no luck, it's his love that saves. And it's written in the word like eternal waves.
Mercy in the morning, mercy every night. Mercy when I'm wrong, mercy when I'm right. You don't throw stones, you lift me high. You remember I'm dust and still you justify. So you don't treat me like I deserve. You cover me in love, that's the power of your word. Oh yeah, have mercy on me. When I fall, when I weep, when I bend my knee. Like David said, blot out my sin, and by your spirit I rise again. Oh yeah, have mercy on me. Let the beat of grace set this dancer free. I'll praise you forever faithfully, cause your mercy keeps sounding in me.
As far as the heaven is high above the earth, so great is his mercy toward them that fear him.
Have mercy on me. Oh yeah, have mercy on me. Have mercy on me. Yeah, have mercy on me. Have mercy on me.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. Well, it looked like Don Lemon got arrested. Now, I know for a while they were threatening to do it, but they didn't. And, well, he was covering the Grammys out in LA, and the FBI showed up and arrested him right there at the Grammys. So, that was pretty big news that came out yesterday. I was going to do it, but I decided to save the story for today. So we're going to listen to what happened. Shabbat Shalom to everybody in the chat. And look at what led up to it. It was an event where there was a protest at a church in Minneapolis. And Don Lemon said he was there covering the protest. He was not part of the protest. Well, I guess that did not make any difference to the FBI because they arrested him anyway. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And this first video you already seen, but it gives you context on what led up to Don Lemon's arrest. So it was at a church in Minneapolis where they found out the pastor, I think he was like an ice field director. So they went to this church to protest this white pastor that was there. And there's laws where you can't just bust into a church and start protesting, although we have seen them do this to Black churches over and over again. All right. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Okay, thank you.
This is the beginning of what's going to happen here. When you violate people's due process, when you pull people off the street, you start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution. When you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry. And if you remember what the Civil Rights Movement was about, the Civil Rights Movement was about these very kinds of protests. There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt, it's to make uncomfortable. And that's what they're doing. And that's what I believe when I say everyone has to be willing to sacrifice something. You have to make people uncomfortable in these times. If you see how uncomfortable people uncomfortably.
So Don Lemon has now been taken into custody, huh? The Trump administration took Don Lemon into custody while he was covering the Grammys, and he's been charged with conspiracy to deprive rights.
I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So,
But there were folks who will say,
I have to take care of my flock.
okay, but listen, we live there's a Constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus, because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world, is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here to worship Jesus. Yes. That's why we're here. Yeah. Okay, that's why we're here. Okay. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a
no
Christian?
one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to
unless you're here to worship. Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here.
Why? What did he do that hurt Donald Trump's feelings so bad? That little situation in Minneapolis when he went in that building? That is what this is all about? According to his attorney, Don Lemon was taken into custody by federal agents last night in Los Angeles, where he was covering the Grammy Awards. Don has been a journalist for 30 years, and his constitutionally protected work in Minneapolis was no different than what he has always done. The First Amendment exists to protect journalists whose role it is to shine light on truth and to hold those in power accountable. There is no more important time for people like Don to be doing this work. Right. Instead of investigating the federal agents who killed 2 peaceful Minnesota protesters, the Trump Justice Department is devoting its time, attention, and resources to his arrest, and that is a real indictment of wrongdoing in this case. This unprecedented attack on the First Amendment and transparent attempts to distract attention from the many crises facing the administration will not stand. Don will fight these charges vigorously and thoroughly in court. It's like I've been saying, ladies and gentlemen, we're not going to have a country at this rate. Don Lemon was the one actually assaulted, if you go back and look at the video, and yet they go and get a brother from the Grammys and do this on a Friday. I've never been so ashamed of the United States of America like I am today. What a disgrace.
Don Lemon has been arrested. Yes. He was interviewing people at the Grammys last night when federal agents picked him up. Now, we all know Don Lemon has been on his own for a good minute, and that is a good thing, especially for the Black community, because we have somebody finally using their voice to speak what we're all thinking. But one thing about that, it is dangerous, especially to this damn administration. Now, we all know why he was picked up. In Minnesota, there was a protest that broke out at a church during Sunday worship, City's Church in St. Paul, to be exact. Don Lemon was just there to record. He was doing nothing else, and he made that very clear. I am not with the protesters. I'm here to observe. In the U.S. Department of Justice, I'm sorry, Wigs R Us bitches, wanted to arrest him, but a judge said, nah, ain't no cause. But they're doing it anyway. They're saying he violated the FACE Act. I'm going to read what it is. The primary investigation focuses on potential violations of the freedom of access to clinic entrances. This also protects places of religious worship and interference, intimidation, or use of force. Don Lemon did none of that shit. He actually interviewed the pastor. They also want to get him under the KKK Act. How ironic, a Black man being charged under the KKK Act. This statute relates to conspiracies aimed to deprive citizens of their constitutional rights. In this case, the right to practice religion. Once again, he was not interfering with anything that was going on. He was an observer, using his First Amendment right as a journalist. They also want to get him on the alleged action. Lemon is accused of practicing in embedding with the protest group that entered the church with allegations that intimidated the pastor and the congregation while filming the incident for his independent media platform. He did no such thing. He was not with the damn protesters. But they see a Black woman leading, they're going to add a Black man to it. Now, I want y'all to keep this in mind. A federal magistrate judge rejected the DOJ's bid to charge Don Lemon. But the DOJ is still going to pursue the case. He better get the fuck out because you know all hell is about to break loose with us.
All right, y'all. Y'all got to know that Don Lemon was arrested last night. At what time, where, and for what reason, we have no idea. But federal agents detained Don Lemon last night. And this is especially crazy because a judge has already said that there's no evidence or not enough evidence to actually charge him in the first place. So this feels really out of left field. We have to call it what it is. It's a straight up kidnapping. It's retaliation, right? And it's a violation of the First Amendment, the most important amendment that we have as Americans. I cannot tell y'all how important it is that we keep our eyes on this and that we fight back against this because independent journalists, right, don't have the same protections that those journalists do who are part of mainstream media. And so Black, gay, and independent, you're especially vulnerable.
I woke up to news that Don Lemon was arrested last night, so I just had to hop on real quick. He was arrested for that protest that went into the church in Minnesota. And I, for one, am happy. They are trying to say it's a part of his constitutional rights, his rights as a journalist, but it absolutely is not. Let's see how this unfolds, but this is very interesting. And I figured it was coming after they had arrested the other woman who was one of the people who set it up as well a few days ago. I think that Don Lemon thinks he's above the law. He thinks he is above the program. And he knows that he is protected by the Democrats. But the reality is that that was over the line. I haven't said much about this, but what I have said in private settings is that was completely over the line. Nobody who did that was anybody who goes to anybody's church that believes in God, that worships, and they did that at the right church. Because you go into the wrong church with that and they would have drugged them out of there. But anyway, let's see how this unfolds.
More fashion from dictator Trump's regime. Reporter Don Lemon has been arrested by the FBI for reporting the news. Don Lemon was taken into custody by federal agents last night in Los Angeles, where he was covering the Grammy Awards. Don has been a journalist for 30 years, and his constitutionally protected work in Minneapolis was no different than what he has always done. The First Amendment exists to protect journalists whose role is to shine light on the truth and to hold those in power accountable. Absolutely correct. Instead of investigating the federal agents who killed 2 peaceful Minnesota protesters, the Trump fascist Justice Department, I added fascist, is devoting its time, attention, and resources to the arrest. And that is the real indictment of wrongdoing in this case. This is my favorite part right here. The unprecedented attack on the First Amendment and transparent attempt to distract attention from the many crises facing this administration will not stand. Don will fight these charges vigorously and thoroughly in court. Need I remind everybody, they tried to arrest Don Lemon last week and a judge rejected the attempts to bring charges against Don Lemon. They were like, He's protected. He's a journalist. He's reporting the news, that what every journalist does. I would like to point out to everybody too, Don Lemon was not the only journalist at that Minnesota church last week when the sermon was disrupted by people. There was other journalists there. Don Lemon was the only one who they picked on. They're the only one who they're going after because he was the most famous one there. And because of his skin color. I can guarantee it's also because of his skin color. This is what fascism is. They're going after reporters who are reporting the truth. They don't want you to know the truth. They don't want people like Don Lemon on the ground showing you videos of ICE attacking and murdering people. They don't want it. They want to keep reporters quiet. And they're doing this to him because he's pretty high profile. He doesn't work for any of the major news networks anymore, but he's still very high profile, doing his independent thing and growing by the minute. And they're doing it to intimidate other journalists. Do not be intimidated by the fascist dictator Trump. Do not be silenced. Do not be afraid to report the news. Do not be afraid to share something on social media because your MAGA neighbor might get mad at you. Fuck that MAGA neighbor. It's high time in this country that we stand up to these MAGA people. They need to be ostracized at this point. They really, really do. This is fascism, probably racism because he's black. Don Lemon was doing his job, and Don Lemon is protected by the Constitution of the United States. Where's our free and fair press? You know what country arrests their reporters? Russia, China, Cuba, North Korea, not the United States until now. Trump's a fascist dictator.
Good morning, y'all. We got breaking news. So Don Lemon just issued a statement through his attorney. He was arrested last night by federal agents in Los Angeles. Let's talk about it. So as we all know, Frempidust's personal attorneys over there at the DOJ have been trying to secure an indictment against Don Lemon to have him arrested for that protest that occurred at City's Church in St. Paul a couple of weeks ago. Now, according to reporting, they failed to secure an indictment by a magistrate judge in Minnesota. The judge refused to sign off on that warrant. Well, apparently they were able to do something because according to this statement issued by Don Lemon's attorney, he was taken into custody by federal agents last night in Los Angeles when he was covering the Grammy Awards. The journalist goes on to say that Don has been a journalist for 30 years and has constitutionally protected work in Minneapolis is no different than what he's always done. The First Amendment exists to protect journalists whose role is to shine light on the truth and hold those in power accountable. There is no more important time for people like Don to be doing their work. So I'm assuming that Don is still in custody. She didn't say that he was released. We don't know what the charges are as of right now. I do know that slew-footed ass Pam Bundy was in Minneapolis a couple of days ago. Maybe she went to the judge, found some judge to sign off on this bullshit, because Don Lemon said in that video that he was there in his capacity as a journalist. He did not chant. He did not join in on any of the protests, make any statements. He was there to cover it. And now they have arrested him. Everybody should be concerned about this. Content creators should definitely be concerned about this if they're arresting people for just covering what is happening on the ground. It is absolutely diabolical. I'll keep you guys updated as we know more about about Don Lemon's arrest. But as of right now, I believe that he's still in custody. I'm pretty sure this DOJ is going to try to release a picture of Don. It's just, I hate this. Y'all put your thoughts as Double D Movo. Don Lemon, stay up. Stay up, man.
Breaking news now, just into our CNN newsroom, we are learning journalist, former colleague of ours, former CNN anchor, Don Lemon, has been taken into custody, arrested just days after a protest inside a Minneapolis church. Now, he has maintained that he was going in as a journalist to cover the protest. Let's get right to CNN's Kara Scannell, and CNN chief media analyst Brian Stelter is also here with us. Kara, what are you learning first about this arrest that we should note? A judge, a magistrate judge, had rejected the federal government's attempt to put him under arrest just 1 week or so ago.
Sarah, that's right. We had reported that earlier this week that the magistrate judge had rejected an attempt by DOJ to bring criminal charges against Don Lemon. What we have learned is that last night in Los Angeles, in the 11 o'clock hour, Don Lemon was arrested in the hotel lobby in Beverly Hills and taken into custody. Now, it is not clear at this time what he is charged with, or if he is charged in a criminal complaint, or if he is charged in an indictment, which would have been returned by a grand jury. But it does appear to be connected to that because as we reported earlier this week, the Attorney General Pam Bondi was livid that Lemon was not charged at the time. It appeared that they were going to continue to try to bring charges against him. And now we know that Lemon was arrested last night in Los Angeles, where he was in town to cover the Grammys. I do have a statement from his attorney, Abby Lowell, and it says in part, Don has been a journalist for 30 years, and his constitutionally protected work in Minneapolis was no different than what he has always done. The First Amendment exists to protect journalists whose role it is to shine light on the truth and hold those in power accountable. There is no more important time for people like Don to be doing this work. Instead of investigating the federal agents who killed 2 peaceful Minnesota protesters, the Trump Justice Department is devoting its time, attention, and resources to this arrest. And that is the real indictment of wrongdoing in this case. Now, we do expect Lemon to make an appearance in court today. That is usually the process that follows when someone is arrested. And then it will be up to the judge whether he gives him bail, which would be expected in this case. So we're likely to learn more details about exactly what he is charged with, what form he is charged in, and if this was returned by a grand jury. And then we'll see potentially Lemon later today. But he's being held and has been held overnight in Los Angeles unarrested.
They have arrested Don Lemon, and now POTUS is online overnight calling Alex Preddy an insurrectionist. We've got to talk about all of this because we are very rapidly declining and not enough people are getting it. Don Lemon has been arrested for being present at that protest that happened to walk inside of a church service. He was not part of organizing that protest. He was not inciting that protest. He was there to report that protest because he is a journalist, and that is what journalists do. Because he is not a fan of Trump, because this Department of Justice is obviously weaponized to go after anybody who is a critic of Trump, he is now in their crosshairs. They are doing everything they can to penalize those that were involved in that protest, rather than going after the agents who unalived 2 American citizens, unjustifiably so. And if you don't understand yet how big of a deal that is, you need to be aware that going after the media is one of the hallmark signs that you are not living in a free nation. You take out the free press, and he has been doing that for years now. And this is just a rapid escalation in that move. Furthermore, they are trying to paint Alex Preddy as this bad guy because he was out there in the streets resisting what ICE is doing. They're trying to call him an insurrectionist, an agitator, because he was fighting back. And it's crazy because it's coming from the same crowd who has acted as though we have to be like militia ready so that we are always ready to fight back against a fascist government that oversteps what it's supposed to be able to do. And now that we're there, they're on their side. None of this is good. All of this is a bad sign. Yet another bad sign after bad sign after bad sign after bad sign after bad sign. And it is rapidly going hell in a handbasket. Now that we have them raiding election offices and grabbing onto election data from not even the most recent election, but the one before that, it is all the writing is on the wall. The midterms aren't going to matter. They are really trying to make sure that the midterms can't happen. See their power potentially slipping away and they're panicking. They can't let that happen. So what are they going to do? They're going to do everything they can to make sure the media cannot report accurately. They're going to try and censor anybody who tries to do so. They're going to try and paint every person that resists them as a terrorist so they can be taken out. And they're going to try and manipulate the elections or rig them all together or just get rid of them. Hi.
Also breaking right now, I'm just getting this in to my ear and to our newsroom. Don Lemon has been taken into custody. That is according to a statement from his attorney, adding that the former CNN anchor was arrested by federal agents in Los Angeles while he was there to cover the Grammy Awards. Lemon's attorney did not say what the charges are at this time. However, he was under federal investigation by the Trump administration for appearing at a protest in a church in Minnesota. So we're monitoring this news and situation carefully. We'll bring you any new updates as we learn them. Meanwhile,
hey y'all, what's up? Good morning, motherfuckers. Now, if you have been under a rock, you will have not saw this. Y'all see this headline? Don Lemon arrested by feds in Los Angeles. And this happened today, early this morning. So let me read for you here. Former CNN anchor Don Lemon has reportedly been arrested by federal agents in Los Angeles after being spotted at a church protest in St. Paul, Minnesota earlier this month. The New York Times reports he was charged with violating a federal law during the anti-ICE protest at City's Church on January the 18th by impeding people's right to worship. He was cuffed after he spent the night at the 2026 Recording Academy Honors in LA. Shit just got real. I mean, I don't know what to say about this. I just feel like it's getting crazier and crazier. But what do you guys think about this breaking news? Leave me a comment. Let's talk about it. And don't forget to hit the follow button. Toodles.
So I have breaking news this morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Don Lemon of the Don Lemon Show and of the Lemon Nation has been arrested by federal agents. You guys know him from CNN, and he was arrested last night, according to multiple sources, including CBS News. So it's basically hit the news, and his lawyer has basically confirmed that he was taken into custody by federal agents yesterday evening in Los Angeles, where he was going to be covering this weekend's Grammy Awards. Now, you guys know Don Lemon, and this has everything to do when he was covering the protest of the individuals who walked into the church, and he was covering that particular incident. So we're going to be following this. This sets a dangerous precedent for us, and we've seen this slowly start to erode into this area where, journalists and people who are in the media itself have been attacked, from Aaron Parnas to others who have been attacked by this particular administration and others, how he has been very rude and nasty to so many people who are asking questions, and rightfully they have the right to ask those questions on behalf of the American people. And so here we are. So we're going to be following this story up, and I'm also going to be doing a deep dive a little bit later. But first, of course, you know that we got to give you the news and information that you can use, but it's something that you need to know, because a lot of you all probably didn't see the video. You just saw snippets of it and the way that they're telling you things happened rather than what really happened. So let's talk about that, because there's video evidence out there, but they're not going to tell you that. Right? All right. We'll see you around.
Lord have mercy. Breaking news, y'all. The news is reporting that Don Lemon done got arrested in connection with the church protest that happened in Minneapolis a couple weeks ago. Oh, Jesus. Listen, they really don't got nothing better to do. This is crazy. Y'all, they said they arrested Don in LA. Stay tuned, because you already know I'm going to keep you posted. This is obviously crazy.
Federal authorities just locked up Don Lemon. Some people say hit that follow.
Don Lemon was arrested for covering a protest that took place at a church where one of the pastors is a deputy director for ICE. A journalist was arrested. You don't necessarily have to be the biggest fan of Don Lemon to understand that this is an attack on freedom of the press. Journalists have a constitutional right to cover events, whether they're at the events while it's happening or they're covering it after. All right. But after a judge denied a warrant for his arrest, because remember, a couple people have already gotten arrested. The DOJ filed an appeal, they lost, and then they took it even further and arrested him last night as he was doing coverage for another event. He's supposed to appear in court this morning. Everybody is getting arrested by the federal government except for the people that are out here murdering people in the streets, murdering people for protesting. And again, you don't necessarily have to be the biggest fan of Don Lemon to understand that this is a fundamental attack on freedom of the press. Journalists have the right to cover events, and churches should not have ICE agents as their pastors. It's common sense, I fear. Free Don Lemon. Never thought I'd say that. Damn.
This administration has just arrested Don Lemon, a journalist, arrested by this administration. Agents picked him up and arrested him. This is serious. This is real. This is also happening at the same time they're trying to paint Alex Preddy in a negative light, referring to him as an insurrectionist and trying to justify the atrocities that have taken place. They are arresting journalists. They are calling U.S. citizens who were killed by masked agents insurrectionists. This is serious. This administration has just arrested a journalist. First Amendment out the window. Attacking the First Amendment in broad daylight. They just arrested a journalist and now are trying to paint the victim as a domestic terrorist, insurrectionist, and trying to justify the atrocity that took place. I'll be doing a full breakdown about this on my YouTube at the link in my bio.
Now I woke up in a good fucking mood this morning. And you mean to tell me that the feds done arrested Don Lemon? Hold on. And so for almost 3 weeks now, I guess it's been 2 weeks, that Don Lemon went in the church and was basically talking to the protesters that protested the church, where the Christian pastor is a part of ICE. He supports ICE, and they found that out. So they went inside the church and they protested inside of his church. Don Lemon happened to show up to the church as well, and he happened to interview some of the people and get their take and their outlook on what was going on. They said that Trump wanted him arrested since that day, and they went to a judge, and the judge said, nope, not enough evidence. We're not going to deal with it. He's not getting arrested. He has the right. He has freedom of speech. He's the press. They just went to another fucking judge and got this judge to get an indictment for this man's arrest. And you guys don't see nothing wrong with this. They are literally taking our amendment rights and literally taking them and crushing them, and we have no rights right now. It's either we do what they say, we get killed, we get, go to jail for nothing. And this man is a reporter, a well-known reporter that has been shedding light. See, this is why I'm in school for what I'm in school for, because when you're not scared of the system, they target you. They try to use you as an example. God bless the truth. Thank you for sneezing, baby. They try to use you as an example when there's no example to be used. We have rights. We have freedom of speech. We have freedom of press. We have all of that. And you guys, we have freedom to bear arms. Like, in some states, you don't even need to have a life. And it's like, this presidency is like really taking this shit and running with it and doing what they want. And I cannot believe that a judge actually had the audacity to sign an indictment for this man's arrest. This is breaking news. Wake up. On the wake up when she's different. This is breaking news, y'all. Breaking news. They done arrested Don Lemon. Breaking news. Please like, comment, and share. Please, y'all. I'm begging y'all. I don't get enough shares. I don't get enough comments. Please like, comment, and share on this. I will keep you guys updated when I find out more information. Thank y'all so much to my people that have been with me since the beginning. Thank y'all to everybody that comment, that share, that send me a friend request. Thank you to everybody that joined my lives. This is for entertainment purposes only, TikTok. This post is for entertainment purposes only. If you guys could please like, comment, share, all those buttons on the side, that would really help me out a lot. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you know what? Number one, I'm not surprised this happened. There was, and it goes back to the very beginning when Donald Trump came into office and Elon was there. Elon was still there. And he made this comment about, well, maybe we can go after the people that are saying negative things online. In other words, if you're online saying something negative about the Trump administration, he wants someone to come after you. And I'm like, how you gonna do that? You know how big social media is? How would you pull that off? So the fact that he made that kind of statement, I'm not surprised. But see, here's the thing. Donald Trump is only going to go after what he sees as left-leaning journalists. The ones on the right, he won't touch. Trust me, this is this might be the beginning. You may see this more and more going into the future. You may see this again. So, well, they do have laws against going in and disrupting church services. There are punishments for that, but it seems like whenever our churches or protesters go in and start screaming and hollering, they don't seem to move in the same manner. Remember, this was a white church in Minneapolis. So yeah, so I can see them going after Don Lemon. I really do. No matter what he was in there for, I'm not surprised. I mean, look at what Elon does. All you got to do is go over on X and say something negative about him, and he bans you. And at the same time, talk about free speech. It's not free speech. If you're going to be ultra sensitive about what people say about you, then that's not free speech. So, as far as I know, Don is out. I thought I saw him post something yesterday on his channel, so I don't think he's in custody anymore. But he certainly does have a legal battle ahead on this whole thing, you know? Mhm. Yeah, well, we'll see how this all plays out. Astarte Jones, thank you so much for your super sticker and support for my channel. I deeply appreciate it. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. We have our Bible study at 1:45, so I will see many of you then. Those of you that I don't see, please enjoy your afternoon. Now, my next live will be at 5:45. Some of you may have heard Sha'Carri Richardson got arrested, and we'll be talking about that a little later. So I will see you. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Shabbat Shalom.